Hello, my name is Lorien Dyke. My thesis is researching anxiety levels in students during digital interactions. We looked at a variety of variables, including social anxiety, self-perceived social status, and adverse childhood experiences, and how they each correlate to digital interaction anxieties. In general, there have been an increase in the number of people using technology to connect with others and to gather information on the world around them. This is especially true in academic settings, where students would normally interact socially with professors and peers. With COVID-19, students are now being forced to conduct these interactions virtually through digital platforms. Social interactions are halted and virtual interactions are stepping up and becoming increasingly popular. Throughout my research, I found that studies suggest that those with social phobias or social anxieties struggle with a reduced quality of life when compared to those who do not struggle with such anxieties. It was also found that individuals with social anxiety had fewer positive emotions and events than an individual without social anxiety, which suggests that those who are socially anxious struggle with day-to-day activities and finding positive emotions and events throughout the day. Social anxiety affects an individual's education as well, which is a crucial part of these individuals' lives. With a lower quality of life and difficulty in academic settings, it is shown that social anxiety takes a massive toll on an individual. Social status can be defined as a self-perceived notion. It is how you feel about where you are at socially, financially, and academically in relation to those around you. The research showed that children who exhibit a higher level of anxiety are perceived as less popular among their peers, which suggests that perceived social status is negatively correlated with social anxiety. Family demographics such as school poverty levels, neighborhood income, and living conditions can also play a role in how an individual perceives themselves on the social status hierarchy. Adverse childhood experiences include neglect and household dysfunction. Events like witnessing violence or any of the other measured situations such as abuse can all affect an individual's anxiety levels, especially in settings which they are uncomfortable or unfamiliar. In today's world, virtual learning and virtual interactions have become a necessity to ensure safety. With COVID-19, the world has had to adapt and adjust the way that everyone functions on a day-to-day basis. Schools have shifted from in-person teaching to video conferencing and asynchronous lectures. Along with educational meetings, social interactions in general have moved to virtual settings rather than in-person interactions. The goal of this research is to note the connections between these factors that relate to student anxiety and to assess how student anxiety levels differ for digital interactions. No one has done research specifically like this, which means my hypotheses are exploratory in nature. However, we did predict that social anxiety and early life experiences would be inversely related to digital interaction anxiety, while social status would be positively related to digital interaction anxiety. We had 58 participants, a majority of which were Carthage students. Some were from other institutions. Each participant was sent a survey through Qualtrics after emailing our lab account and expressing their interest. We used 4 different scales throughout the survey, including the Social Interaction Anxiety Scale, the ACE questionnaire, the MacArthur Ladder Scale, and a self-created Digital Interaction Anxiety Scale. We then used Jamovi to analyze our data for the Pearson's R correlations. Our analysis of the data collected showed no significant relationships within any of our variables. All 3 figures here show the x-axis representing the digital interaction anxiety levels, with a negative value showing low levels of digital interaction anxiety, and a positive value showing a higher level of digital interaction anxiety. The y-axis represents the different variables: social interaction anxiety, self-perceived social status, and adverse childhood experiences. As previously stated, our data did not show any significant correlations for any of our variables. This could be resulting from any number of limitations. One of the most pressing limitations came from our digital interaction anxiety scale. Our self-created scale had participants rate their digital interaction anxiety levels compared to their social anxiety, rather than isolating the digital interaction anxiety measure. Another possible limitation stemmed from collecting data on a relatively small liberal arts college. This could have influenced the number of participants that we were able to obtain. Another crucial limitation is the environmental factors at play. The survey was 100% virtual, and we as researchers had no control over the environment of the participant. In Kenosha alone, participants were dealing with a global COVID-19 pandemic, a historic presidential election, and protests and riots. These environmental factors could have played a role in how each participant responded to multiple survey questions. These factors could have affected the overall data that we collected, which would have affected the lack of correlations between variables. Going forward, we would extend the study to all undergraduate students from multiple colleges of varying sizes and recruit through a recruitment system other than just a local college newsletters. By extending the sample size, the researchers would hopefully get a much larger sample with a greater variety of participants. We would also suggest using all validated and reliable scales that have been tested and proved effective. This would eliminate the possible error in data within the survey itself. By changing the scale for digital interaction anxiety levels, it would allow the researcher a more stable base of where each participant is at. Lastly, we would attempt more of a controlled study, one which would have greater ecological validity. This could include conducting a study during times where there is no pandemic that could then generalize to everyday interactions, both in-person and virtual, that students would normally participate in. With increased digital activity, it is important to understand how these variables are affecting people in society. With further research, we believe that study of this topic could spark important research that could lead to great improvements in mental health care and further assist the world in creating easier and more efficient forms of digital interactions. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.